Hello everyone, the midterm mini essay reviews continue, this time with our first president, the one and only George Washington. Welcome to Review, you 11th graders. So who is this man, George Washington, and why should everybody know about his accomplishments? Well, prior to becoming president, George Washington was born in the Virginia colony, and at a very young age, he showed great promise in the military and led the Virginia troops in a war called the French and Indian War. That was in 1754 to 1763. He actually lost a battle in the French and Indian War. I think he came close to being shot as well. But that was really the only time in his military career that he lost a battle. When we won, the colonists and the British won that war, and he returned to Virginia and was elected to their House of Burgesses. Some of you might recall, hopefully all of you, that this was their first representative government in the colonies, the House of Burgesses. Now, during the American Revolutionary War, he was the commander-in-chief for the Continental Army. Great general, maybe not the best strategist, but really one of the finest generals we've had in American history. And after the Americans win the revolution, he really planned on retiring to his farm and living the rest of his days very peacefully with his wife. But he was called to service yet again. And that was at the Constitutional Convention. Oh, I don't think I put this in here. Oh, right here. At the Constitutional Convention of Philadelphia, he was really, his presence was requested. He was the most distinguished person at the meeting, and he's going to emerge as not only the first president, but really the unanimous choice to be president. So, as the first president of the United States, George Washington made a very key decision. He said this country is too young to get involved in foreign affairs. So he issued in 1793 a proclamation of neutrality. If you want to combine this with the world history, understand that this is the time of the French Revolution and then later the rise of Napoleon. And he just believed that we needed to stay out. You know, Britain and France continued to have their rivalry, and he did not want to pick sides. However, his cabinet members did not all feel the same way. And you're going to have some people who thought we should be more in favor with Britain, and other people who thought we should be more in favor of France. But the one significant treaty that he did sign that caused a little bit of a stir is Jay's Treaty. This was a treaty with Great Britain. And when it was revealed to the American people that we had just signed a treaty with the country we broke away from, there were many people who were unhappy. There were actually some people who called for the impeachment of George Washington. I always find it amazing that, obviously one of our most successful presidents actually faced tremendous adversity and showed great courage to overcome it. But the two most important people in this cabinet were Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson. Alexander Hamilton was Secretary of the Treasury. Thomas Jefferson was Secretary of State. And there's another review for him later, or earlier, depending on where you are on the YouTube channel. But Hamilton is a key figure. I hope you all know that he was never the president. Also, Hamilton did not know his father, and George Washington did not have a son. So there was a bit of a father-son pseudo-relationship between the two. Now, I hope I've been able to convey to you my obsession with this play, Hamilton, that is on Broadway, about his life. This is not an essay about Alexander Hamilton, so I won't go into those details, but there is a big connection. Washington's legacy will be largely dependent on Hamilton, who did the following. He wanted us to be a united country, so he consolidated, which means to put together all of the debts of the nation into one national debt. He thought it would be easier for the country to pay off the debt as one rather than various states owing money. In order to pay off that debt, he put a tax on whiskey. And he wanted a tariff on foreign goods. And then to really unify our financial system, he called for the creation of a national bank. And that's what created a major problem with Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson said, you don't have the right to do that. It is not in the Constitution. Jefferson was applying his strict interpretation of the Constitution at the time. Hamilton, on the other hand, said we should use a loose interpretation of the Constitution. It doesn't say that I can't create the national bank. I will just tell you that in order to get this whole plan approved, Hamilton made a compromise. He said, if I can get the support from the South for this plan, we will move the location of the capital. The first capital of the United States was in New York, and that was far for colonies, now they're states, like Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina to get to. So the compromise was, let's move the capital to the Potomac River, and that is why our capital today is in Washington, D.C., which is in between Virginia and Maryland. When Washington finishes his second term, I don't think he would have had any trouble winning a third term. However, he chose to leave office. So the tradition that he established, or the precedent, is that the president would leave after 2 terms. The only president to go against and challenge that was Franklin D. Roosevelt, but I don't think you've learned about him yet. When Washington left office, he gave a famous speech, his farewell address, to say goodbye, and he gave us advice. He said to Americans, we should stay out of foreign alliances. Don't form permanent alliances with other countries. It will only get us into more trouble. He also said we should not form political parties. And I think you all know we did not listen to either of his suggestions. We have vicious fighting between political parties today, as evidenced by our presidential election, and we have alliances that have definitely contributed to problems for us in the world. But maybe that's just too much of my opinion. So I hope that you understand the significance of Washington's presidency, and I hope to see you soon. Take care.